Hello and welcome to SVG Europe's Football Summit 2020 event. My name is Katharina Kleinfeldt and I'm a TV sports presenter from Sky Sport Germany. And as some of you might have figured already, I'm German. So herzlich willkommen. Schön, dass Sie mit dabei sind. Ich freue mich sehr auf diesen Tag heute zusammen. Usually you might see me at Sky Sports Germany talking about FC Bayern Munich getting the 8th time in a row Bundesliga champion or leading from one game to another during the Handball Bundesliga conference. However, not quite much is quite normal these days, right? So what I did the last few months was talking from one living room to another, doing virtual interviews with handball and football Bundesliga players and kind of getting closer, even though we had to keep social distancing. And I guess all of you can relate, right? All of us by now know our colleagues' decorations preferences. And it was a very, very special time. So still nothing can beat a face-to-face conversation or even a stadium atmosphere while a live sport event is going on. But what is good is we have some new innovations taking us slightly back there, or at least to a new normal. And that's why we're here today. So I'm your host for the next 90 minutes or so. And as we explore how football leagues and sport broadcasters are putting live football back on television screens around Europe as the extraordinary lockdown measures put upon us due to COVID-19 are reduced now. I'm joining you, by the way. We are a cloud-based vMix and singular graphics platform, which is being managed by SVG and technicians from Sky. So thanks, guys, because without you, this would not be possible. Also taking place right now, which is really important, is the Football Summit 2020 Zoom Watch Together. And some of you might be already be in there, but if not, check your emails for the link invitation. It's hosted by SVG's Ken Kirschbaumer, and it will be live for the duration of the whole event, and is where you can go meet and discuss with the sponsors during the event, during our halftime break, and extra time we have added after the event. So see you there too. And if you're Twittering, don't forget to use the hashtag Football Summit 2020. So Football Summit 2020 will explore how TV and OTT broadcasters are attacking the business of the football season with the Bundesliga, La Liga, Extraclasa, and the Premier League back in action and Serie A now ready to restart. Today will allow the broadcast community to share what they have learned over the last few months and discuss how they are getting great coverage of matches to air without fans in the stadium while maintaining the safety and health of staff and crew. In the last few weeks alone, we've seen some real innovation both on and off screen. Sky Germany was brave enough to be the first to try simulated audio, for example, which has since been copied by many other broadcasters. In La Liga, virtual supporters have been added to match coverage, and there also have been an acceleration of remote production strategies and, of course, a complete overhaul of the stadium and compound working arrangements. All of this will be discussed today. We will also have presentations and case studies from our amazing supporters, including EVS, Signiant, Pixellot, VD, and TVU networks, all showcasing technology and services that can help in these unprecedented times. Don't forget, if you want to ask them a question, please find representatives in the Zoom Watch Together. They will be ready and waiting for you. And there will also be 3 live panel sessions today, during which we will have Q&A. So if you have questions for any of the panelists, please send them to questions@sportsvideo.org or use the chat facilities either in YouTube or in the Zoom Watch Together. We will answer as many as we can. So I'm sure you will agree we have a packed lineup and plenty to talk about. So the whistle's blown. Let's kick off with Serge, who will tell us what it's been like during the lockdown and, in terms of new innovations.
Welcome to this online SVG Football Summit 2020. Let me start by thanking SVG Europe for giving EVS the opportunity to partner in this important event. Sport and football are at the heart of what we do at EVS since 25 years, and it is our ambition to continue helping all of you creating those great productions and creating that emotion that fans are hungry for. It is clear that due to the COVID-19 crisis, the world we live in has changed dramatically. Some of you operating OB events suddenly had to stop all outside broadcast activities. Those of you operating broadcast centers had to rapidly adapt to the fact that most of your workforce had to work from home and had to cope with an increased demand for news coverage of this pandemic. What we all have in common is that an important part of our revenue stream disappeared and that we had to take new measures one way or another to limit our outgoing cash flow, and that in order to get us through this worldwide crisis. Fortunately, we start to see the end of the tunnel of this COVID-19 crisis. At least this is the case for Europe, as the World Health Organization reminded us just recently that the situation in the Americas, and especially in Latin America, is still not under control. With various competitions starting again like Bundesliga, Extraklasse and La Liga, to name a few, we all hope that we can start producing great content again. But the current situation to play football behind closed doors is bringing new challenges that we will be addressing today during this online SVG Summit. When I look to the industry colleagues like Jamie from BT Sports, Alessandro from Sky Germany, Tim from Sportcast and Marcin from Extraklasse Live Park, I'm sure this will be a very interesting and very lively session. I trust you will hear some interesting answers today on questions like how to cover a live match without fans in the stadium, how can you create that atmosphere and create that emotion, how to improve in those circumstances the interaction with the fans, how to create that wow factor before and after the match, how to make sure that all of your production staff can do their work while staying safe, and last but not least, how to cope with the bottleneck that is in the making. So again, I'm sure that this will be a great summit, and I trust you will pick up a few ideas that you will be able to implement soon. But before I leave the floor to my fellow speakers, allow me to give you an update on what we at EVS have been doing since that famous Friday, March 13, when most of us in Europe went into lockdown. So let me do that by covering three topics. The first one is the financial impact, the second point is the impact on our roadmap, and the third point is the support we provided you during this crisis. First topic I want to address is the financial impact this COVID crisis had on EVS. While blessed with a strong balance sheet, we decided to keep everyone on the payroll. And in those circumstances, you can really fully appreciate the value of having no debts and having a strong cash position. We also decided to further invest into our future by acquiring Axon. This way, we are extending our product portfolio and our solution portfolio with strong media infrastructure solutions. We believe really that this is a great complementarity to what we have today. And I'm sure that many of you will be able to enjoy those capabilities and those products in the future. We see that with about 90 new colleagues joining the team, together we are getting to a team of about 550 people, and half of that is working in R&D. So that really demonstrates that we keep heavily investing into our R&D capabilities. And with new products as Neuron, Cerebrum, and with Synapse, we are quite sure we have a very strong addition to our product portfolio. Second point I want to talk about is the impact on our roadmap. As I told you, we kept everybody on a payroll, and half of our colleagues are working in R&D, so it was important for us indeed to be able to continue working on our new products and new capabilities. So maybe you have seen recently the launch of our LSM Via, a great IP-based solution that will for sure become the new standard in live replay. We also are further working on our XT-Via and our IPD-Via production asset management solutions. We keep on working on improving our Xebra VAR solution that also includes the FIFA certified and artificial intelligence driven offside line technology. We have launched Overcome 1.0 for fully automating some cameras in those football games, and the list keeps on going. But feel free to join our website to better understand all the new products that we've been launching as we speak, and we are adding a few of them in the next weeks as well. So the third point I want to talk about is the support that we have provided you through those difficult times. We've been helping many of you to adapt to the new reality and to do that remote production in a more efficient way. We have helped in different ways because there are different ways to do that remote production. And all the lessons learned of those different interactions with all of you, we have been gathering them in a new initiative that we call Live Production Anywhere. So if you want to learn more about those capabilities, please visit our website. We have great information over there that really will help you streamline your organization, streamline your operations, and be more efficient in that remote workflow. So let me come to the conclusion here. The world has changed due to the pandemic. Your way of producing those sport events is changing, and you need to adapt to face the new reality. Now, however, that three things at EVS did not change. First, sport and live production keeps being at the heart of what we do. Second, we have an ambition to continue to be your reliable technology partner to create that return on emotion. And third, we will keep on listening to your requirements and expectations to create those new solutions and workflows you need to increase that level of emotion while also keeping your total cost of ownership under control. So let me say how proud we are at EVS of the role we play in this great sport broadcast industry. We look forward to the future as we know better times are coming again. Thank you for listening to this introduction, and I'm happy to leave the floor to our SVG Europe colleagues.
Well, thank you, Serge, and thanks to all of you guys from EVS. Great to hear how you have been keeping busy during the lockdown and to learn about the new LSM VR. So now for our first panel discussion of the day, it's all gone quiet over there, covering live football matches behind closed doors. Don't forget, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat or email us with questions at sportsvideo.org. We will try to get as many of your questions answered as we can. So before we start now, let's hear from our central sponsor, Signiant, and John Feingold.
Hi, this is John Feingold, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Signiant. I want to thank SVG for pulling this event together. Certainly wish we could be doing this in person and look forward to a day when we can be back together, networking, connecting, and having live conversations. But alas, here we are. I wanted to also point out that, as a sports fan and as someone who works in the industry, really excited to see all the creativity and innovation that's going into bringing sports back safely. We're seeing some just interesting ideas and thinking to produce these events. Signiant has kind of a unique lens on this, and that our software and our SaaS platform are widely used, in remote work, remote collaboration, remote production, and of course to move tons of content to and from the cloud. Another trend that's been accelerated by the pandemic. Really, anytime content's being exchanged during these live productions, Signiant's probably behind the scenes helping make that happen. We're seeing, again, more use of pre-recorded content in these productions. We're seeing, new graphics capabilities being introduced. We're seeing some AR capabilities being tested to augment the fan experience without fans in the stands. We're seeing new camera angles in some cases, with drones flying where fans normally sit. Again, expanded use of the cloud, and of course, expanded use of remote production teams collaborating to bring all these events together. So it's really exciting. I expect a lot of these things will stick, since many of them were trends that were happening anyway and have only been accelerated given the current situation. But it's really exciting to see and to be a part of it. And Signiant certainly proud to play a role in helping bring sports back with our software and our SaaS platform. So thanks again to SVG for pulling this event together, and we look forward to some great discussions. Thank you.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it as well. Thank you, John. And now let's start with first session, which is called It's All Gone Quiet Over There, covering live football matches behind closed doors. And while fans of Borussia Mönchengladbach and Brighton and Hove Albion have created cardboard cutouts of themselves to fill the terraces of the Borussia Park and the Amex Stadium, most football grounds in Europe still remain empty during football matches restarting again. The lack of fans provides a huge challenge on the other side for leagues and broadcasters who can no longer rely on supporters to provide the color, emotion, and atmosphere that usually underpins live football, and which is what we all love about the game. So the big question is, what can be done? In this session, we will look at how this challenge is being overcome creatively, operationally, technically in the Bundesliga, Premier League, and Serie A. And joining me now to talk about exactly this, we have Tim Achberger, who is Head of Innovation and Technology Management of Sportcast, Dante De Julio, Sport Production and Channel Management Director at Sky Italia, and Jamie Hindhaugh, Chief Operating Officer at BT Sports. Hello, everyone. Tim, let's come to you first. As the Bundesliga was the first league to return and Sportcast is the host broadcaster for all the Bundesliga matches, what were your priorities and challenges for the return of the live matches, and what did you have to put in place to make exactly that possible?
Thank you, Katharina. First of all, thank you, SVG, for having me. It's a real pleasure to be in this panel, and I'm looking forward to give you some insights about our experiences over the last week. It's quite easy to talk about it today as quite comfortable, but during the last 4 weeks, 4 weeks ago, it was quite a different situation here in Germany. We were still quite deep in the pandemic period, and so we had a completely different circumstances. As first league, which was back on the field, we had to prepare a complete book of regulations and new medical and organizational operations to ensure that the Bundesliga can produce a product in the same quality as we did before the pandemic. So we did a lot of work, but all of this was theoretically, and we could just prove it during the first restart match day. That was quite quite surprising for every one of us, and therefore we really were focusing on delivering a high quality product in the same way we did before, and therefore we had to ensure that we really clarify all media regulations, all operations on site with the OB vans, with the freelancers. So a lot of thinking beforehand, but at the end, proving and ensuring that all parties know what's happening, ensuring that to do at 18 matches over the whole match day. And therefore, for example, we popped up with a task force, which was responsible for being aware of all and being presentable for all questions that popped up during the first match days. And that worked out quite well because we could really fastly answer all open questions in the stadium and ensure that the quality was the same, which we did beforehand.
Mm-hmm. The lack of atmosphere and emotion inside the stadiums is a big topic because no spectators can be there. What have you done to compensate that?
Well, together with the DFL product management, we decided or discussed a lot about this. With the beginning of the period, there were a lot of questions popping up, and I was astonished how many people contacted us because they had ideas how to enhance the audio quality or the interactivity, and that was really an experience I didn't expect. So from this point on, we talked with a lot of providers, especially in the field of audio, to assure that we proved this option really intense. And at the end, we said there are three options which we discussed. One was producing audio in the stadium by itself. Second was to produce with pre-clipped examples from later games. And the third was bringing people which were sitting at home, bringing the sounds from them into a live mixture to enhance the sound of the original feed. At the end, we decided not to do anything because we wanted to assure that everything works out finally for the first match day. There were just so many regulations, so many different topics we had to work on. So yeah, at the end, we didn't do anything of this audio aspect, and we checked interactivity features as well. But we said in the beginning, just focusing on the real importance of the real basics.
Understand. So you were talking about mainly the audio now. It certainly might have been possible to add other elements to augment coverage, but it was decided not to. Why?
Well, as Bundesliga, we're always keen on presenting innovations into our product, but this was just not the right time. There was a lot of discussion in Germany if it was even the right point to start with the Bundesliga. And as you know, our slogan is football as it's meant to be, but without our spectators in all the stadia, we just were not the same experience. And we have a lot of respect in Germany for all this fan culture, and therefore we said we want to see how the people react onto it. Sky decided in the end to start with this enhanced audio, and we decided from the second match day to do it for the international feed as well. But in the beginning, we just wanted to respect everyone around, and we wanted to ensure the basic of the production. That was really the main goal, because there were so many open questions and nobody had answers at this time.
Understand. Jamie, BT Sport has the rights to show the Bundesliga in the UK. How has your Bundesliga output evolved to compensate for the lack of natural atmosphere inside the grounds? What new or different options are you offering the viewers?
There weren't many options for us to give because we are not the host broadcaster, so we receive the international feed. So predominantly it's about adding our own commentary, our own pundits. We did liaise with German team fan clubs in the UK and brought some of those fans into our coverage. But the step change really was when we added the enhanced audio mixes that our colleagues in Sky made available. And that's the first time, I think, in the UK where we've actually played out live games with the audio soundtracks. And we did take the bold move of not giving people choice. So it was forced upon them. But it was great, and it's converted a lot of people, and I think just highlights the importance of sound when you're enjoying watching live sport.
To add here the social distancing rules, you do the coverage remotely, including replays. How did you achieve that, and what were the biggest challenges?
Yeah, it wasn't just the social distancing aspect. It's also, of course, we're in lockdown, and also we felt it was very important to reflect how our audience's own experiences around people leaving their homes, etc. So we actually put in a process which was having a gallery in a box across two different homes, and our commentators broadcasting live from their own homes. So we had this weird scenario where we had two people doing all the live replays, adding the graphics, doing the match direction and coverage. And our commentator, and it wasn't the press actually, because our commentator was live in Dublin, who got disturbed halfway through with a Tesco's food delivery. Sort of putting into context the fact that you're doing this from home. And what we really like about this is before COVID-19, I think if I'd have gone to anyone and said we should be doing commentary from home, you'd have got a strange look. And it does work, and we've done, crikey, over 40 odd Bundesliga games now, all with commentary coming from home, all being mixed at home. And even when we decided to enhance the look and feel where we've got multiple games by using our studio in Stratford, The actual gallery in Stratford was driven by people from their homes as well. So we had, less than 10 people on site, all social distance, but all of the different operations being directed from people's garages, bedrooms, whatever they had at their homes to make that work, which has been phenomenal, actually.
We'll go back to the Premier League, which
Mm-hmm.
restarted this week or is restarting on the weekend as well. For the Premier League, where you will be the host broadcaster for the matches, you will also be working remotely. And the coronavirus
Mm-hmm.
lockdown has really accelerated your remote production strategy, hasn't it?
It has, and this is a great example of remote production at its finest, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, there's a few things to point out. I mean, we're not the only broadcaster looking at remote production. And we also had a very clear roadmap with remote production. So we've been doing the National League and WSL for over a year, over 4G and broadband, etc. So we had some learnings, and we had a very clear plan. We'd gone on record that we believe remote production is the right way in the future for many, many reasons, including helping keep our planet alive, as well as creative opportunities, diversity, inclusion, etc. Not about money. Money is the last thing you should be looking at, because actually you'll need the same expertise. But so we had a roadmap, and we'd gone on record, and I spoke at SVG about this. We were aiming for about 2023 to be fully remote. And to be candid, Premier League was probably at the back end of that because of the quality, caliber, and expectations around Premier League coverage. But with lockdown and with the learnings we had in the last 12 weeks from setting up remote galleries, remote commentators, driving stuff from home, all of our teams are still working at home, doing every aspect you do for running 24/7 channels. We decided now was the right time to put our staff safety at the top of the list, and to accelerate our remote production plans to minimize the number of people that need to travel and the number of people that need to be on site. So we are, you're right, the Premier League launched last night on Sky, and it's great to see it back. And for BT Sport, is back with us on Saturday. So we've got 2 back-to-back games. We're not the host broadcast for all of those games, so we are working with our colleagues at the BBC, etc., who are producing some of those games. But yes, our first game at 12:30, the Watford game, will be produced, I think, for the first time, fully remote. So we have, in the last 4 weeks, built a remote operating centre in High Wycombe with our partners Telegenic. We will be doing our presentation on screen, plus the remote capabilities from our studios in Stratford, and about a third of the team that are using the facilities at Stratford will be working from home, driving those facilities in Stratford. So on site, we will be limited to a few technical people, our camera operators, and we will have a commentator, co-commentator, and reporter. But it's been a phenomenal, everyone pulling together, from Telegenic in High Wycombe, Timeline in Stratford, Andy Beale, my engineer, running around everywhere. And what I'm really impressed with is the speed we've done this at is astronomical. And we haven't done it yet, just small caveat, that's this weekend, but we are very confident. But it's more how all the teams have pulled together, because, and again, I've talked about this before, remote production, it's more of a cultural challenge than a technical challenge in some aspects. So getting people to understand they're not going to be a truck in a car park outside of a ground, that they are going to be remote from where the action is happening. And actually our teams have been beyond superb in coming together on this, and not trying to prove why it doesn't work or why they don't like it, but really sort of getting behind it, to make sure that we are optimizing what we can do, and that our hubs all come together. And it's going to be fabulous to see, actually. And I'm hoping, beyond hope, that nobody watching has any idea that we're doing it remote. And what I should throw in as well is the additional challenge we put on ourselves. So we are still doing it in 4K HDR as well. I mean, we're one of the only broadcasters that does live sport with HDR as well as 4K, and we are still doing that through our remote capabilities. So we're determined there's no drop off in quality, but the workflows and the impact on travel, social distancing, staff well-being, everything is fully accounted for. So yeah, very long answer to say we've fast-tracked our plans by about 3 years.
But still, it's very interesting. It's very interesting to see everybody pulls at on the same string, which is really good
Yeah,
during that special time. Tim,
yeah.
before we go to the Q&A, how happy are you? Because the restart is already back a couple of weeks now from the Bundesliga. How happy are you with what you've done so far, with what you have achieved?
Well, you can hear me, yeah?
Yes.
Okay,
Perfectly fine.
perfect. Just double checking. In general, we are more than happy. As you can imagine, all 7 match days went really well for us, including the DFB Pokal semifinals. We had about 130 matches now, and all these could be produced under this medical and organizational regulations of the COVID period. So we are really confident that we can do this for the upcoming matches as well. And then we are really proud that everything went well so far with the production. And even more for us, it's really important now to focus already onto the next season. As you can imagine, there were a lot of learnings during the last weeks, and I think we need to internally discuss these now and understand in which way do we want to adjust the product for the next season. And it will be exciting to see now the start of La Liga, of Premier League, and the big major leagues in US to see in which way do they plan to enhance and adapt their products, because there are so many open questions and you just get answers when you try it out. And I think all of us are getting these experiences now, and it's important to learn from each other so that we can go in a good next season, and probably not with spectators in the beginning. So that's really important for us to get a clear picture and find a production for the serial production the next season.
Picking up on that, one question from the audience is, Tim, the Bundesliga coverage was pretty high during all this time, and the expectation was very high. How did you get along with this?
Well, it was even more pressure in this tense atmosphere. I mean, as I said before, we were the first worldwide league, and therefore when the Germans they are known as really precise, and we discussed it and really defined all procedures and processes, and we tried anything that was possible to let it happen. And fortunately, everything worked out, and there were all teams could play, and everything worked fine. So we were really happy that we could provide the product from the beginning to all national and international licensees, and that we were really happy. Happy feedback from everyone about the product quality, and they didn't get the feeling that it's a complete different product. So, yeah.
Jamie, one question for you is, while BT Sport are doing remote production, how much of it is about sending kit to operators' homes, and how much is it about adopting cloud services? Very specific.
Yeah, it's a bit of both, and what we've actually done is created a pick and mix of options. So we've built a physical remote operating center in High Wycombe. We do use some cloud technology, and also depending on people's connectivity, etc., we also connect them up at the home. So it's a real hybrid, actually, and that's what I love now, because now what we look at is what's the creative execution we want, and therefore how technically can we deliver that, and we've got, as I said, a pick and mix. You pick the best model that suits, yeah, so it's a real hybrid.
Now we have one which I don't see yet who it is for. I guess both. Where does the panel see the future of goal cameras, both behind and in goal cams? It's noticeable that in Germany and Portugal, they have 2 goal cameras for most games, but we only see them occasionally in this country. There were none yesterday, for example. They offer something dramatic to the replay sequence. They are going to be used more in the future? Question mark. So let's start with you, Tim, for the Bundesliga, and then Jamie.
Well, it depends on which perspective is meant by the question. I mean, we all try to provide good perspectives around the goal, and we do have this in-goal perspective for a long time, which with a small camera which is positioned in the net, and behind. Even more, we do have now the pole camera, which is located behind the goal and can provide shots around the goal on both sides, and well, just picking up all situations and then the penalty. Yeah, I don't. Room, however you're going to call it, area. Thanks. So I think we in the Bundesliga do have 2 camera systems which are already integrated, and even work or try out smaller ones which can be located behind the goal to go through the net. And I mean, Premier League is doing some experiences with this as well. Though I think at the moment we are quite fine with the cameras we do have.
Mm-hmm. Jamie, what do you have to add to that for the Premier League?
Yeah, I think it's what Tim said, to be honest. But anything I would add as well, of course, we also do 360. So we do tend to have cameras as well placed around to give that additional example. But yeah, the pole cams is definitely the route we go down, and very much same answer as Tim on that one.
Mm-hmm. Will BT Sport broadcast the EPL in atmosphere host matches for the remainder of the season? I hope I got this right, because it's a little tricky. Did you get it, Jamie?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. So so with 4K HDR, we are Dolby Atmos as standard.
Dolby Atmosphere, yes, that's it.
Yeah. So we're looking at that at the moment. We can, but what we need to look at and understand, and we will do at least one game in Dolby Atmos, but actually looking at, if you think about what Dolby Atmos does, whether there is enough value from that or any perceptible difference to the audience, giving that as a service, especially where we are also like Sky adding enhanced sound effects on our main game, but given the option to not. So I think it's the game with the option to without the enhanced effects. It will be interesting to see what Dolby Atmos could bring to that, or what compliance nightmare it could bring to me. So we will have a look at that and see.
Mm-hmm. Tim, one question is, I hope you can answer it. If not, you tell me. The question is, Tim, how exactly did Sportcast mix the fan audio using audio samples of home and away teams of different set pieces of previous games and mixed out of separate audio gallery? So whether or not, I hope you can answer it.
Yes, as I mentioned, we had an intense discussion beforehand, and also with your colleagues at Sky. And in the end, we are really glad that Sky provided us for the international signal with the mixture. And this mixture consists of 3 parts. We have on one hand the original close ball mix, which is produced in the stadium from the OB van. And that's like the basic layer. And then we do have 2 extra produced audio feeds, which we get provided by Sky. And there we have one basic floor with a general audience with sounds like clapping or whatever. And then we do have a 3rd layer, and this 3rd layer is specific to the clubs and to the game happening, or the match, what is just going on. So, and these 3 layers get mixed together, and then we provide this as the enhanced audio or extra audio.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you guys so much. We're already coming towards the end of our first session, and I'm so sorry we lost that to Julio from Sky Italia. But if you guys out there have still questions for him or for Jamie or Tim, please send them in, and we'll try our best to answer them offline or in the Zoom watch together. So a big thank you to you guys, Jamie and Tim. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And now we're already ahead of our halftime break. Let's hear from our case study Pixellot and their CEO, Alon Werber, in an interview with SVG Europe editor Will Strauss about automatic production for football.
Sports. It's more than just a game. Live sports coverage brings communities together. It enables families to stay in touch and allows players to relive unforgettable moments. Pixellot captures and broadcasts the game without any camera operators, using artificial intelligence to track the action, automatically creating highlight clips and delivering game stats and data. We believe every team is important, and every game counts. Pixellot.
As we've already seen and heard today, the big European leagues are restarting, with broadcasters and host broadcasters making use of exciting innovations to counter the lack of supporters inside the stadiums, while adhering to the stringent health and safety regulations enforced by COVID-19. What about the smaller leagues, the semi-professional and amateur game, and even niche football tournaments such as futsal? They survive almost entirely on funds from gate receipts and merchandise. Of course, no fans equals no money. Lower league clubs cannot afford to play matches behind closed doors, but equally, they want to engage fans in other ways and find new sources of revenue. With us now to discuss this subject and how automated and automatic production technology might be the answer to this particular issue is Alon Werber, who's Chief Executive of Pixellot. Welcome, Alon.
Well, how are you, Will?
I'm very well, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us today. Now, with matches being played behind closed doors, enabling clubs to capture and stream their games remotely and cost effectively could be critical in helping them to reach their community and their fans. And I know from my own experience as a supporter of a fifth-tier football club in England how important this is. So, Alon, what's your take on the current situation, and why do you think automated production solutions could be the answer?
I think the outcome of the pandemic, there's two critical consequences to the pandemic. One is safety. And as sports tries to resume, and it's critical for everyone, for federations, for clubs, for leagues, for the nations to resume the sport, it's clear that at least in most markets, there'll be constraints about fans coming in to the fields, either completely closed door or very considerable limitations. This is one aspect. The sport will resume without fans or limited fans in the venue, safety. The other consequence is also clear to everybody. All the sport, almost any area in the sport that you look at, has suffered a very severe hit on the revenues, and the budgets are under a huge constraint. So budgets which were available in the past will probably not be in the future. And the third, I think, consequence, there's a much broader and deeper understanding that things needs to be digitized and automated, and cost effectiveness become critical. So I think automatic production, and we see it in our own experience with the way the business starts to emerge even stronger for us right now. I think there's a understanding that automatic production, assuming it's robust enough, we can provide reliable solution and good quality, can be a great way to address the two aspects in parallel. On the one hand, if you are a second tier or third tier, and you don't have the fans, which are often the only way to connect to fans, because there's no broadcast, there's no budget to have the old type production. You are disconnected completely from your fans. It's not just about the fact that you don't have revenue streams, because you don't have the fans in the venue. It's about the connection and the engagement with the fans. This, in some cases, will be a necessity. You need to somehow keep connection with the fans. And you need to have a way to monetize. The monetization, if you have a production, you have a video, it might come with sponsors or advertisers or from pay-per-view. and ticketing, because there are fans which are very engaged and very passionate about their teams, which are not necessarily tier one. So for these teams, this is in some cases mandatory to resume the sport. But even for tier one teams and leagues, some of them will still have the budgets, and that's fine. But many of them, Division One leagues all over basketball, all over Europe, I'm not even talking about women's sport, even Division One, they will need to be much more cost conscious. And they're looking for good solutions that can still bring good experience to their fans, and sometimes even better experience, because the AI and automatic production, since you follow the moving object, it lends itself much better to social media and to short clips and post products after the game, including stats collected automatically, etc. So in a sense, I think it will accelerate the adoption of a technology like ours, and other players which are automated, AI, robust, and in good quality, because quality is still important.
Thank you. Do you have any specific examples that you could share, perhaps, and perhaps some successes as well?
Of course, even before the scenario I'm just describing, which is the post-COVID, with all the constraint, I think there's a broad understanding that automatic production can be a great solution to bring much more video and much more leagues and much more sports into the spotlights. And video is not just about the fans. Systems can serve coaches, in some cases where it's relevant, even create new revenue streams like sport betting. And if we look at 2019 for Pixellot, around 100,000 games were produced live in soccer alone. We're talking about soccer mostly. We look at all our productions, there are much more than that, but in soccer, 100,000 games. We have covering the FMF, for example, the second league in Mexico is covered using our broadcast. Sometimes there'll be a more advanced production or higher cost production, manual production for the main game, but all the other games are produced this way. We have more than 70 leagues covered with our partners in Germany, 70 or 18 in Germany, in Italy, some leagues, in France, in Belgium. Women leagues, a lot of women sport which was not covered at all in soccer are covered today. Even we just signed a deal lately, which will be hopefully after the pandemic, which will start to operate for the first professional soccer league for women in Argentina. We lately signed a deal, high-profile league in SPFL in Scotland, to produce everything automatically, the second league in Scotland, for both sport betting purposes, but for the fans as well. So we see it going downwards to lower leagues, but also to main leagues of women, and in some cases even tier one. Again, the main games might be produced still manually with an Obi-Wan and many camera people, but we can provide services even with multi-camera. So I think this is in essence the future, because again, it's not just about the production. It's about the fact that there is data. We all track the moving objects, so we can create some stats based on the same production. We can create personal highlights, game highlights, and stuff like that. Thanks very much.
Just finally, what advice would you give to, be it a federation, a league, or a club, or anyone thinking about adopting automatic production technology for their football coverage?
I think, of course, it serves us in a way, but I really believe that it's critical. I think that seeing a product, demonstrating a product that does some automatic production is important. The quality of the video is important, and the quality of tracking is important, but it's only a small fraction of what they need to consider. They need to make sure that whoever provides a service, the service reliability is very, very high. It's typically critical. They want to make sure the SLA, that whoever provides has the scale and has the automation to deal with all kinds of aspects which might go wrong in technology, and everything is handled automatically with fallbacks because stuff will happen. And if a company doesn't have a lot of experience in all kinds of scenarios, different lighting conditions, unstable internet, you name it, there's all kinds of issues that can go wrong. And you don't see it when you see a demo of a great system working. So they need to check very clearly before they make an investment, which should save them cost, what type of issues they might confront down the road when there's a lot of games and there's a lot of issues. So one, real scalability, I think is important. And two, in our business, the volume matters a lot because when you have a lot of games, we have around 500,000 games in our database tagged already. All the data is there. And the way AI improved itself, this is why it's AI, is because when you feed it more and more tagged games, it will become more and more accurate, will handle more side events. And we see it throughout 5 years adventure. We saw up to the point that we have high accuracy and very high reliability in our production and streaming and cloud side, because the cloud is also important. So check all of these aspects, make sure that, and then in some of the cases, it's really no-brainer, because if you understand the installation is simple and you understand the reliability of solution, the marginal costs are by design, by default, much lower, and the options for reuse are much higher because you have the data. This is critical as opposed to regular cameras and broadcast. So check this all out, and I think whoever won't jump on this wagon will be in disadvantage, even if it's us or even someone else who does good job in this space. This is where things are heading. I mean, as it comes to the La Liga or Championship, still big budgets even after the pandemic. Maybe they want to get quality and variety, which is even bigger than what we can provide, although we are starting to get there slowly. But this is what I would consider if I'm a league or federation. I would take it seriously. It's not something they need to push another year or two, and it's not big investments. And even the investment that do exist can be, in terms of cash flow investment, can be laid out very conveniently for the teams.
Thank you. I think that's a great place to leave it as we're running out of time. Alan, thank you very much for giving up your time today. It's been fascinating to speak to you.
Thank you so much, Will, and thank you for having me today.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Pixellot, from me as well. Great insights into the role that automatic production can play in football coverage, right? And now we have our halftime break. Please grab yourselves an orange slice and continue to chat in the Zoom watch together with SVG's Ken Kirschbaumer. And then we'll see us again in 10 minutes.